Hey everybody, today I'm here to share with you how I make my own mask to create a scene. Here's a look at the card, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got my Misty out ready to go, and I'm going to be using this Easter greetings from Two Paper Divas. It's a vertical greeting, so it's a bit different and really fun. I've got it loaded up onto my Misty because I want an exact placement with this. I want it centered right in the middle of my card, and you'll see why in a minute. But I've got a piece of 3 3/4 by 5.5 inch plain white cardstock in my Misty, and then I've inked up my stamp with Versamark ink, which is just a clear sticky ink, so I can go ahead and emboss this in white. I've got my Stampin' Up! White embossing powder. You can use whatever your favorite white embossing powder is. You could also use gold or clear if you wanted to. And then I'll go ahead and heat set that once I've tapped off the excess. Just make sure this is really good and set on your paper because you're going to be doing a lot of ink blending over this. There you really can't see it, but it is on there, trust me. Now I've got the whole sheet of Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper. I'm going to use the entire thing here, so I wanted to use a whole sheet. And I've just drawn across with my Tim Holtz ruler. This is my favorite ruler, and just a pencil. All of my little lines here are 1 inch across, so I've just used the 1 inch mark, and then my bottom portion, which you can see is a little bit longer, is 2 inches. So very simple to draw on your own. You don't need any special tools, no die or anything, just your ruler and your pencil, which we all have pretty much in our stash, right? So now I've gone ahead and taken my Tim Holtz ruler. It's got a metal edge on it, so I can go ahead and use my craft knife to cut. Now I am going to be using both the positive and negative space of this, so I want to be careful when cutting. I don't want to go too far outside of my lines. And there you can see my cross is ready to go. If you don't have Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo masking paper, you can use strips of tape if you want. You can also use plain, regular typing paper. It doesn't have to be this special masking paper. I just like to use it because it's already sticky. So I've taken the negative space there, and I have centered that over my sentiment on the card. I want the sentiment right in the middle of my cross, so that's where I have stuck down the masking paper. So I've got 2 colors of brown distress ink out. I've got Walnut Stain and Vintage Photo, and I'm just going to sponge those on over my cross mask, and because I have embossed my sentiment in white, it's going to resist the ink and really stand out. Again, use what you have on hand to ink this up whatever way you want. This is about using what you have on hand. So I'm going to go ahead and peel that off, and I've got a beautifully masked out cross. You could stop here if you want, or you could sponge on some clouds and just a bit of grass and be done with it. But I wanted to take this a step further and really make this a full inked up scene. So what I did was I masked off my cross. There you can see that's what I've cut out from the center of the panel that I used earlier. I'll just put that down. And then I've just taken this die, which has a slope to it. Use a circle, a plate, anything you have on hand with a little bit of a curve to it. I've put that on some cardstock, scrap piece, and then I will cut that out with my scissors. I'll tape that down in just a moment with some painter's tape, masking tape, washi tape. Again, use what you have on hand and tape that down on the bottom portion of your card, and that will serve as your masked off hill. Now I'm going to go ahead and sponge on a sunrise. I googled photos of a sunrise and just started pulling distress colors that match the colors I seen in the photo. So I started out with some mustard seed, and then I moved up to spice marmalade. Now I'm putting on some picked raspberry, and you can see I've got 2 colors going at once. So I started with spice marmalade, then I moved on to picked raspberry, and I just kept alternating until I got the blend I wanted. Now I've got some seedless preserves, and then this made all the difference. And it's a little intimidating to put black soot on, but trust me, it is worth it. And just a little bit will do. And there you can see I've got a perfectly inked off sunrise. Now I moved on, and I've got some crushed olive and mowed lawn, and I've got my hill border there, and I've got the top masked off so I don't get it on my sunrise that I've inked up. And then I'll just ink those 2 on and blend them out. Now I peeled off all my paper there, and there you can see I've got a beautifully inked up entire scene ready to go. So I went ahead and I put on some double-sided adhesive on the back of that inked up panel, and I'm going to put it on the right side of an A2 top folding white card base that I've made myself. So I'll just pop that on and line it up, make sure it's just right, and then I wanted a little separation between the white border and my distressed scene. So I just took, this is die cuts with a view. It's kind of a matte glitter cardstock. I pulled out a piece of pink and chopped off about 1/8 of an inch strip there. And I'll just use some glossy accents to glue that on. And then that pretty much completed my, this is a little bit longer. I always do it this way. I make it longer and then I use my scissors to trim it off instead of trying to get it just perfect. It's just a lot easier to do it that way. But I'll go ahead and trim those off. And there you can see I've got a beautifully inked up scene. No special tools necessary, just use what you have on hand. And that completed the card today. I will leave you all with just a few pictures. For more information and a complete supply list, you can visit my blog, craftingwhilecaffeinated.wordpress.com. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy crafting!